There are many players we think of when it comes to underachieving potential. The hero of our video today is a true legend of English football and football in general. A man who could have fought for the Golden Balls along with Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, but never came close to that award. A footballer who made up his oddball looks with his amazingly beautiful goals. And just an English guy whose career was affected by his love of alcohol. It's all about Wayne Rooney. His story is amazing and full of meaningful moments that could have been many more. But nevertheless, the Englishman has forever cemented his name in football history and deserves a separate video about himself. So, this is the story of one of the most talented football players in modern history, Wayne Rooney. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment with 4 words. And here we go. Let's go. The story of Manchester United's top scorer began with ordinary yard games with friends on the outskirts of Liverpool. But even then, the young Englishman was already significantly different from his peers in terms of level of play. And in general, if we trace the pattern, when we talk about the top players, in most cases from early childhood, they're always ahead, if not 2 heads better than their peers. That's why the notion that talent doesn't exist is utter nonsense. And Wayne Rooney, as well as many other players who later gained worldwide fame, proved it. Speaking for Liverpool's Skullboys, he scored 72 goals in 1 season. Just an unimaginable figure and a demonstration of incredible talent. And of course, the young talent just could not be ignored by the scouts of the top clubs, and soon Wayne received an offer to visit the View from 2 clubs at once. Everton and Liverpool were very interested in getting the boy. But Rooney, since childhood, as well as his whole family, passionately supported Everton, so he was forced to refuse Liverpool. As a result, Wayne signed a contract with the Toffees and began to play for the academy. At that time, he was often called up to the main team matches as a ball boy, and in 1996, at the age of 11, he took to the field as the team mascot in a crucial game against Liverpool. In his first season for the academy, Rooney managed to score 114 goals in 29 games. This was a real shock, and even then, many predicted the Englishman to be at the very top of football Olympus. Wayne's progress has not stopped, and at the age of 15, he began to play for the team Everton to 19. At the age of 16, he first got into the basic team Everton in the match against Southampton in the Premier League, but in that match he did not come out on the field. But in the summer, he went to pre-season training in Austria, along with the main team, and as part of the subsequent tour, scored 8 goals in 8 games. The first official match for Rooney was the game against Tottenham, and the first goal was scored on October 2nd, 2002 in a match against Wrexham in the Football League Cup. Due to this, 16-year-old Wayne became the youngest author of the goal in the history of Everton, breaking the record for Tommy Lawton, who played for the Toffees in the distant 30s. And despite the steepness of his record, 17 days later, something happened that shocked all of English football. On October 19th, in the match against Arsenal, just 5 days before his 17th birthday, Rooney, in an incredibly beautiful manner, makes a long-range goal, which becomes the winning goal. And thus, the young man interrupts the 30-match unbeaten streak of the Gunners in the Premier League. In addition, this goal brought the Englishman a new record. He became the youngest goalscorer in the history of the Premier League.
It's a special goal and a special talent. It's an English talent, the biggest English talent I've seen here since I'm in England. And
at the end of the year, Rooney was voted by the BBC as the best young athlete. And perhaps it was really so, because at his age, he already had incredible achievements and great potential, which should not be ruined.
By far, he has everything what you dream to have. Intelligent, quick reaction, good with running with the ball, moves forward quickly, and of course he's very accurate in front of goal. I hope he will not be injured now in the next 2-3 years, and but mentally he will be able to cope with what's happening to him, but he's a huge talent.
That's what the legendary coach Arsene Wenger said about Rooney, and his words, it's 100% true. Everton management certainly understood it, and therefore in January 2003 offered Wayne a professional contract that made him one of the highest paid young men in world football, with a salary of about £13,000 per week. Truly enormous money for a 17-year-old. Rooney went on to play regularly for Everton, and in his first season he scored 8 goals in 37 games. But the most important event for the young player was not the signing of the contract in the first place, but the call-up to the national team at the beginning of that year. Remarkably, the Irish teams tried hard to steal Wayne, as he has the relevant roots. But he was impenetrable and considered himself English to the core. And let's be honest, what are the prospects for the Irish team? Absolutely none. Therefore, Rooney made the right decision. He made his debut for the national team on February 12th in a friendly match against Australia. And going on the field, Wayne became the youngest debutant in the history of England. And in September the same year, the Englishman distinguished himself for the team in a match against Macedonia, thus becoming the youngest author of a goal in the history of the Three Lions. The next season was not entirely successful for Everton, as well as Rooney himself. After scoring a goal on the 26th of August in a match against Charlton, Wayne could not distinguish himself for almost 4 months. And the next goal was only on December 13th, within the framework of the match of the 16th round of the Premier League. In this confrontation, Rooney scored his team's second goal, which ended up being the winning one. And sure enough, despite a kind of stagnation, Rooney has been able to make the difference and get involved in the team's most important moments his entire career. Further, Rooney scored 7 more goals that season, and Everton finished the championship in 17th place, which was a truly awful result. Despite not having the best season, Rooney was called up to the national team for UEFA Euro 2004 as the team's main forward. This tournament, despite the injury which the Englishman received in the quarter-finals, was fantastic for him. After all, in the group stage, Rooney distinguished himself 4 times. First, he made a double in the victorious match against Switzerland, then became the author of 2 goals against Croatia. The British public was just delighted, and with such a performance, Rooney set himself a very high bar, which, unfortunately, in the future was not quite favourable for him. England's team at the tournament were left without prizes, but Wayne himself was included in the symbolic team tournament, and is now the main hope of English fans.
So it was the kid of England, everyone loved him. He's a fantastic boy, fantastic player.
But once Rooney received the true love of the people, he lost interest in the club where he grew up. After all, he wanted new challenges, and you can't blame him for that. Despite the fact that Everton categorically refused to sell the young talent, they still had to do it. After all, Rooney refused even £50,000 a week and forced the club to put him on the transfer. Thus, the Englishman, on August 31st, 2004, was at the club which we're used to associate with him. He was very happy to be at Manchester United, as this is the team that regularly competes for titles in international European tournaments. And for a young guy, a dream came true. What can I say? Not only for a young guy, every player dreams to play and win, especially in the most prestigious tournaments. With his departure, Rooney greatly helped his hometown team to improve their financial situation, because for his transfer, Everton received an estimate of £27 million.
I'm very excited because the players that play here, it's unbelievable, the team they've got and the fans all over the world, so hopefully I can come into the team and do well.
And of course, the decision to move was not easy for all parties, but it was Manchester United that made Rooney the man he is.
At the time, and going to Manchester United, as obviously the years have shown, I won a lot of trophies and scored a lot of goals, but I think for me, for Everton at the time, it was the right decision.
The Red Devils had been following Rooney since he was 14 years old, and therefore Alex Ferguson had no doubt that the young Englishman was worth his money. The 2004-2005 season, Rooney's first for Manchester United, was not the best for the team, but Wayne himself was. For over a month he waited for his first game, but the way it turned out, all have long remembered the debut. Rooney played in the starting lineup for the Champions League group stage match against FC Fenerbahce, and in that game, he not just scored or showed a good game, but made a real miracle. Hat-trick and a goal in the debut match, and even the Champions League. Who had done anything like that before? Old Trafford gave the young talent a real big round of applause that night. Also, Rooney can be called the real nightmare of Arsenal. The day before his 19th birthday, he took part in a match against the Gunners. What is remarkable, by that time they had a 49-match unbeaten streak, and Arsene Wenger's team was well on its way to their 50th match without defeat. But Wayne Rooney did not let them achieve this. First, he earned a penalty, which was successfully implemented by Ruud van Nistelrooy, and then he distinguished himself. And on the results of that season, Wayne scored 17 goals and became the best scorer of the club. A great debut season. The next season could have been a nightmare for the Red Devils, if not for the double of our hero today in the final of the League Cup. Because, in addition to the lack of other trophies, the guys from Manchester failed to qualify from the Champions League group for the first time in 11 years. The main event of 2006 for everyone was the World Cup, on which the English fans had high hopes. And in particular, it was Rooney who was in the spotlight long before the tournament. But 2 months before the start of the Mundial, there is a real disaster for the whole of English football. Wayne breaks a metatarsal bone in his foot, and his participation in the World Cup is very questionable. The best doctors were involved in his recovery, and the whole country lurked waiting to see if their top star could participate in the Mundial. Rooney did not recover in time for the first game, but in the second game he came on as a substitute in the game against Trinidad and Tobago. But the tournament turned out for the Three Lions unsuccessful, and they crashed out again in the quarters, losing to Portugal in a penalty shootout. Remarkably, Rooney was suspended for foul play and had a falling out with his teammate, the Portuguese legend Cristiano Ronaldo.
After the game, in the tunnel, after we both had a shower, and I said to him at the time, I said, the press want to make a big thing about us not getting on with each other, falling out, whatever. I said, don't worry about it. I would have done exactly the same thing.
That conflict could have been the reason for one of these two guys to leave the club, but they quickly resolved the issue, not without the participation of the team's head coach. By the next season, both talents were in great shape, and at the end of that period, both scored 23 goals each, and Manchester United became champions. But the next season was even more glamorous. That season was a breakthrough in terms of the Englishman's game itself. As noted by teammates and experts, Rooney became a more mature footballer. He began to play for the team more, and so the season for him was excellent, especially the second half. He distinguished himself by his productive actions in almost every game. Manchester United won the English Premier League trophy again that season, and on May 21st, Rooney and company brought back the Champions League trophy from Moscow, the first and last in Wayne's career.
He runs a lot, he fights a lot, he sacrifices a lot, he scores goals, he makes beautiful assists. He's the complete partner.
The following season, Wayne scored 20 goals in all competitions, and Manchester United won their third consecutive APL title. Further seasons, under the leadership of Sir Alex Ferguson, Rooney also continued to show the great game, and the season of 2009 and 2010, the forward himself calls the best in his career, since he distinguished himself 34 times. And the main achievement for himself then became the title of the best player in the English Premier League, as by the players and according to journalists. However, after that season, Rooney had a great desire to leave the club, and the main reason why he stayed was Alex Ferguson. He convinced him to continue his career in the Red Devils camp. But Rooney's reputation among the fans of the club was damaged significantly. However, after some time, Wayne was able to return to the love of the fans, in particular, contributing to the amazing beauty of the winning goal against Manchester City. The goal was voted the most beautiful goal in 20 years in the Premier League. In the same season, Manchester United won the English Championship again, his fourth title in Rooney's possession. The turning point in Wayne Rooney's career was the departure of Sir Alex and the arrival of David Moyes as head coach. Before that, there was a serious conflict between them, which could only be resolved in court. Rooney's game then went down. To some extent, it was influenced by the fact that the new head coach put the Englishman in the position of playmaker, and an additional factor was Rooney's love for alcohol. It is very hard to imagine Rooney playing football when he's in his 30s, but there's no one better than this guy when he's in good shape. And Rooney has been proving it almost his entire career. Indeed, even in spite of the recession, he managed to score incredible goals and save the team from defeat. Over the years, he's become a true icon of Manchester United, and therefore the club's management has gone to meet him on salary issues. And the salary, at a certain point, the Englishman demanded absolutely not corresponding to his current form. Then Rooney spent a few more average seasons for Manchester United, and the 2016-2017 season was Wayne's final season with the Red Devils. That season, he gave his 100th Premier League goal, making him the third player to do so, and his last match was in the Europa League final, leaving as a substitute at the end of the game. By the way, the Red Devils won that final, and Rooney got the second European Cup title in his career that night. Then Rooney decided to return to Everton, where he spent 1 season and then moved to the MLS. There he played at a good level and continued to be listed as a real star. And the last team for Rooney was Derby County in the Championship, where he finished his career. We did not talk at length about the last seasons of Wayne's career, as they were purely symbolic. And after his triumphant performances for Manchester United, the rest was just a shadow of his former talent. And despite the fact that many believe Rooney's career has been blighted, we disagree. His record is enormous and many can only dream of what Rooney has accomplished. Wayne is one of the most legendary and talented English players. He's the top scorer in the history of Manchester United, and until recently, the top scorer of his national team. A man who is a great professional and truly deserves respect. And even after his career, he did not give up football and started a career as a coach. At the moment, he's coaching the team from USA, DC United, for which he played himself for a year and a half. We wish Wayne success in his new endeavour and success in life in general. Well, we told you about the legend of English football. Do you think Rooney's career could have been better, or did he reach his peak? Be sure to write in the comments.